alphatrends.net. Today is Friday, June 4th, 2021, and the S&P 500 is at a new all-time high, up 13.02% for the year after getting 60 basis points this week. Oil was the big winner, as was the energy stocks. So let's take a look at the market. We've got a very strong market, obviously. Last week's video, I was talking about how I wanted to see the market pull back, and that the most important level that I was going to be looking at was the volume-weighted average price from the low on the 19th and that 417 area. Well, on Thursday, we came down precisely to that level, and buyers immediately came in, ran it back up to the 5-day moving average week-to-date volume-weighted average price, and today we followed through to again close at a new all-time high. So you can't be bearish when the market's going higher. It just doesn't make sense. The Nasdaq, not a new all-time high, but we're up against this prior little band of support. We got the pullback we were looking for in there, same exact place, right down to the volume-weighted average price from that low, and now we're starting to see that 20-day moving average rising up as I sketched out, and it seems as though the Nasdaq is likely on its way to new all-time highs as well. The Russell 2000 still in this bigger range. You can see that it's finding a little bit of hesitancy to get through this little trend line that connects the recent tops, and if we can push through that, then it seems likely we'll make a push for the top end of this range and perhaps continue on to new all-time highs. But this market remains above its rising 5-day moving average. Semiconductors are the strong group in here recently. We got a little bit of a pullback in there, and we're rapidly approaching the high end of this range. As it gets up, if it gets up towards that level, again, I wouldn't want to be a buyer right at, on a breakout. You should already be long with this type of action if you're interested in the semiconductors, because again, we're above a rising 5-day moving average, and the best places to buy are after a correction when the market gets back above a flat to rising 5-day moving average, as in this area over here. So that level is likely, I think, to be breached and then probably consolidate near there, simply because the amount of energy it has to expend to get to that level. It's likely to consolidate a little bit, but again, still very bullish. Biotechs are just tightening up that range a little bit, but still no advantage to long or short that I can see. The financials continue to be the strongest group, and as does energy, which we spoke about at length last week, and we gapped up and saw real strong performance in there this week. So again, if you look at some of the trades that I'd mentioned, let's talk about a loser, CARG. I had purchased this one over here and got stopped out right at this point as it made that lower low. Getting stopped out isn't a bad thing. Holding a stock as it continues to go lower, that's a bad thing. Let's talk about some winners instead. I had mentioned on Twitter PTEN. This stock was at $8.44 when I mentioned it right here as it started to break out, as was MCF at $4.41 right here. You don't have to be buying risky companies like AMC to be making money in this market. CDEV I'd mentioned right here at 506 as it was starting to get moving. And then GLNG at 1220. Now this one is pulling back a little bit, and perhaps it's going to set up for a trade again next week. I'm out of this trade right now because it's made lower high and lower low below a declining 5-day moving average. What I'd like to see in a stock like this is maybe something happening along these lines, and then as that 5-day moving average starts to come down, flattens out, it gets back above it, then I would want to be a buyer here with a worst case stop underneath whatever that low might be. But if the stock instead just continues to decline, well, I'm not in it. I'm not here to play guessing games and try to be the first smartest guy to buy at support. I want to buy when there's some momentum. We spoke about Apple, and Apple continues to be weak as it's trying to hold along this 200-day moving average. Perhaps it looks like it survived for now. I think it's likely we'll see a rally up towards 128. But again, I just don't see any real advantage to being involved in there. Silver was just a kind of a shit show here. It ran up and then pulled back, and the silver stock that I'd mentioned, AG, kind of collapsed back in. This is why I really don't like to trade the metals names too much, but I did mention Apache last week, and that had a really nice move. Unfortunately, this gap, I don't chase these gaps, so I didn't get involved in it, but maybe there was another way that you had gotten involved. in it. I had also mentioned shares of Box, which had a very nice week. We're involved in that one at Alpha Trends right as it broke this level and still long a good chunk of that. Let's talk about crypto for a moment. As I'd mentioned on Twitter yesterday afternoon, just 24 hours ago, as the equities market closed yesterday, right at this level, it was that's Ethereum. Hold on. Bitcoin was, however, right here at 3,800, 38,600. And I said, a lot of people are looking at this Bitcoin conference in Florida and getting bullish because of what they're saying on that. And I said, buy the rumor, sell the news is something to remember, because what we saw in Bitcoin the last couple weeks was this move off of 33,000 up to 39,000, a 30% run. And I put out, saying, just be aware. It's had a nice run up ahead of this conference. And oftentimes, as the conference begins, that's exactly what we saw happen. We saw a 10% decline down to the lows, and it's not really looking particularly bullish right now. Again, going back to the daily time frame, we're still consolidating after this major drop. I don't know if we've seen the lows yet in Bitcoin, but I think that we're going to see the volatility diminish in there a little bit, perhaps, and then maybe it'll be a better buy for a longer term type of trade. I'd mentioned Casper today on Twitter, CSPR, and this one looks like it has the potential to maybe have a bigger move. The volume weighted average price off the IPO is back above, and now it's making with this tight little consolidation in here. That's a good one to keep an eye on next week. Let me just look at my notes here. I guess I didn't really look for any new ideas for next week quite yet. We had a great trade in Mosey this week in Alpha Trends. Got involved in there at $5.61 per share. Again, we're in box. We had gotten stopped out of the balance of CPE today. We purchased it right here at $39.35. So if you haven't taken a trial to alphatrends.net, please do so if it's of interest to you. I try to give the best ideas to subscribers, and Monday night we have a webinar, so that's a good way to kind of get a better feel for what the service is. You can take a 2-week trial, and if it's for you, great. If not, thanks for taking a look. Have a good weekend.